I was going to say something there before you talked about a bounce strike. I was going to say Charlie XCX said the same thing. Everything's so romantic.
And sometimes it's really hot, but you can literally not dress down beyond what you stated, right? Like that is short sleeves, slacks. That is the most you can dress down. And so like, I feel like if a missionary is in that outfit, they're having a bad time and they're not thinking about style. They're wishing they could take their pants off. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like
Mormons think that.
but so I think it's like, I feel like drip is in the clothes, obviously, but drip is also in the attitude. It's in like the way you wear something and like the way you engage with it. And I feel like it is really difficult for a Mormon mission to engage with that specific thing and feel like, oh, I'm swaggy today.
You think, okay, so if it's in the attitude, like,
Yeah.
could Cloud Strife wear that outfit and be dripped out?
I don't know. I think it's hard. Maybe there's a person who could sell it and maybe like the right shirt. I had this blue suit on my mission that my companion encouraged me to get, and then I felt very self-conscious about because for perhaps obvious reasons, I didn't like thinking about my body. But he was like, it looks so good. And it wasn't like controversial, but we like wore it to a conference and all the other missionaries were like, whoa, a blue suit. That's crazy.
And they were like, I can't believe you're wearing a blue suit. Like, you're such a fall. You need to be wearing dark brown.
Yeah, I don't know. It's anyway,
A Queenie Mormon convention.
So like, I feel like there is like, I don't know. I've seen like people wear, I'm not like a huge fashion person, but I've seen people wear like, like a cotton tee with a gold necklace and like slacks and looked awesome. Right?
There's just not enough like sartorial education in the Mormon church.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that people should be educated on in the Mormon church and they aren't.
And I'll be honest with you. If I was up top, the first thing I would talk about is streetwear. Like New Tenant streetwear. You got to have high tops.
Yeah, first we talk about streetwear, then we talk about communism and how queer people should rule the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think those things are related. Somewhat, honestly.
You got to have good fashion.
The revolution's got to be dripped out.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Welcome to Dove Weather, the Chicano podcast that saw the TV glow, the Trans Joy podcast that is dipped in chamoy. I am your letter A Dove, AP.
I am your letter M Dove, Marcy.
And Marcy, we have a third mic today.
That's right. We have Grace Benfell today.
Oh!
Hello. Hi
The
there.
Return.
Yeah,
from
true.
the critically acclaimed Hunter x Hunter episode.
Critically acclaimed by who?
We were nominated for an Emmy.
Whoa, what? How is this the only time?
Yeah,
the first time I'm being informed?
We lost to The Last of Us, unfortunately.
Oh my god!
The note came back. We weren't Zionist enough.
Right. Okay. But that happens.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Let's not give any Emmys to the show itself, but let's give an Emmy to a podcast about the show. Yeah, that perfect logic.
Grace is joining us on the episode today to cover, a collection of texts. Maybe a long scroll of text. Maybe some might say a tome of information. Mm-hmm. Because Grace wrote a book.
Published author in the house.
Well, self-published.
Self-published author in the house.
I feel like it's like, self-publishing is cool, and people should do it. I'm an advocate for it, but I do feel like it's like, yeah, I uploaded a file on a website.
And you know what? You are better for it. What is this book, Marcy?
Yeah, well, first, I want to make sure we're giving Grace her flowers because she's not only a published author, she's a podcaster. Yeah, we
One
got-
of us.
Yeah,
An
we
even
got
more ignominious title.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
know, we got the co-editor of Video Games Criticism Journal tier review here. We got the co-host of Survival Horror Game Club podcast, Safe Room Pod here. Yeah, we got Blue Sky Superstar Grace Machine bsky.social.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we're swimming in accolades over here, but this book, Killing Our Gods: Essays on Religion, Christianity, and Video Games. Well, that kind of gives it up, huh? You know, how does religion connect to video games? You know, how does Palutena from Super Mario Galaxy connect to religion? Well, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, thank you for joining the prayer circle. And
Oh no.
it's gonna be a good conversation. We are gonna hit on some of our favorite topics: religion, being queer, writing, all things we do every day here.
That's actually true. Yeah.
I said Palutena, I meant Rosalina. So I'm just gonna say Rosalina, and then you can edit that in. So I'm saying that, not Palutena, Rosalina.
Rosalina. We don't support the Spanish here. So
Yeah. Well, you know, before we really get into, you know, talking about the book, I feel like we need to ground ourselves in our religious journeys, because you talk a lot in your book about your journey from being in the Mormon church to having doubt rise and having the church's ideas about queerness be antithetical to like your existence and how you left the church. I want to make sure we talk about our religious journeys too, because you know you were very vulnerable in the book, so I feel like we need to be vulnerable too.
and you that vulnerability and like sincerity like reads effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like it is like butter, like religious butter. So
Well, I mean, I think that's like, I think this is at once like a real strength. I mean, I think this is a lot of things. Like the things that are your most profound strengths are also the things that are like make life hard for you in some ways, or can be, or like the things that also cause you to trip up. But like, I'm just like a terminally earnest and sincere person.
and we love that. That is the weather material right
Yeah,
there.
I think that's probably why we were drawn to each other initially.
To begin with, yeah,
because
that's probably true.
We're both earnest people. So
Yeah.
yeah. Wow, a trans woman being earnest?
Not a damn sense of irony in this podcast, excluding that sentence. I grew up in the Catholic Church, like many Latinos have. I spent a lot of time there. My parents were religious. They still are religious. Am I religious? Nah. But I'm also not like, I'm not a YouTube new atheist type. that-
Anymore. You used to be.
She's biting me right now. And yeah, I'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, I'm not like some like fedora wearing Reddit atheist. Because I'm not an atheist at all, I would say. But I'm also not like an agnostic. I'm just kind of a guy chilling. I don't think I had any Catholic.
Do you put
guilt.
that like on your like tax form or whatever?
Yeah,
like under
under
religion,
under occupation. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
No.
Okay,
I
no,
make
no.
money off of this.
Yeah, I do feel like
Is that what Bitcoin is? Making money off of being a guy chilling?
atheism and agnosticism have been so poisoned, I think, by like their communities and their auras, that you do kind of want to just like be none of the above.
Yeah, I think that is also something that I like. I was like thinking about this the other day. I was like, I wish we had, because at this point I don't really know what I am either. I'm like, I guess agnostic would be closest, but I am like, man, we used to have like Carl Sagan. Like that guy was cool. Can we like have an atheist like that again? Like that was sick. Like it's also the thing about Carl Sagan is like he had a spirituality to him in the way he talked about the world. There was like a dimension to it. And I think that, I don't know. And he was also very sincere, it seemed.
And he was also a pothead. Can we have more stoners like that, please?
I mean, maybe, like, I guess I don't know. Like, what is Richard Dawkins' relationship to drugs? I don't know. But did you know that Brandon Flowers, the lead singer of the Killers,
I knew we were gonna get here.
Oh, boy.
debated Richard Dawkins on Swedish television?
I have seen both snippets of this video, and I have seen a lot of videos of Richard Dawkins.
Yeah. I mean, he's constantly
debating
doing these
people.
kind of debates. Yeah.
What I will say is that Richard Dawkins is one of those figures that like maybe had some relevance in the larger conversation of science, but
Yeah,
now, due to the indisputable fact that he's British, he is now like a gross little weirdo on the internet.
Well, I mean, that's also like I read a book about creativity that wasn't very good, but it cited Jordan Peterson as like a neuroscientist. Like it cited like a study he had done.
Wow.
And it's like weird to think about that. Like at one point he was just like some academic guy or whatever.
The only advice I would take from Jordan Peterson is how to cry on command.
He's a crier. It's true.
Well, before we get too into crying, I want to share kind of my religious journey. Basically, I did grow up in a Christian family. We celebrated Christian holidays, Christmas, all that jazz. But we didn't ever go to church. The only time I ever went to church was Boy Scouts, because we met in the church basement, and every once in a while we would go to the service on Sunday and we would help out. There was one time I remember I was like reading I was voluntold into reading from the Bible in front of everyone. And my friend Derek made fun of me for mispronouncing a lot of the names, but I think the old woman who asked me to do it
so cute.
was just happy that I did it. So
I imagine you as a kid being like, Jesus.
But yeah, eventually I decided that I was an atheist, and I remember I was in the computer room with my parents, and I told them that I'm an atheist, and they were disappointed, but they were like, "Well, there's not much we can do."
Well, there you go.
And then in college, I went to at least one like atheist meeting, and I remember the part I remember about this is that there was this game on campus we played called Assassins, where we would have you were given a target of someone else who was playing the game, and then you had to stab this person with a plastic spoon or something like that.
Yeah, there was some high school shenanigans like this going on.
Yeah.
For me.
So I had a target, and I knew he was an atheist, and I was able to get him at this meeting. And of course, he
went to the atheist meeting
to kill
duplicitous intent.
And of course he was like, "Oh, I don't know what this is." He was trying to like get out of it. And then I posted on the website I got him with my spoon. He said that he didn't know what I was talking about, and then he posted like, "Yeah, you got me."
Wow.
But basically, I think over time, browsing the atheism Reddit, I really started to dislike the culture around atheism, and to the point where I don't call myself an atheist anymore. I think at this point, I like to call it the showrunner in the sky, and I think I'm kind of being a bit silly when I say that. Like, I don't think there's an actual showrunner in the sky, but I think because I often think of things in terms of television, it can be easy for my brain to like think about it that way of like, well, oh, I wonder what the showrunner in the sky has for me next month. But yeah, I think it's. I feel like we're all kind of in similar places where we don't really believe heavily, but we also don't know the exact word to describe ourselves. So yeah.
I mean, I think it is also like I kind of feel like a level of hostility towards Christianity, or maybe hostility is the wrong word, but like discomfort. Where it's like I've gone, my wife is like going to divinity school, is like a theologian, is like smart, and thinks about religion a lot, and cares about it a lot, which is not a problem. But like I've gone with her to like kind of progressive church stuff and things like that. And I've always felt like weird and uncomfortable, even though it's like, this is a setting where like there's other trans people here and like I'm explicitly like, it's fine, you know, and I've gone with like, anyway. So it's just, you know, it's like a weird thing, but also I mean, this is like a lot of what the book is about, right? Is that I do have a lot of like kinship or feeling close to these ideas. And I think like, my principal objection, I think, to religion in general is the idea of like getting outside of the material reality of the world, or like being able to sort of sidestep that, or be like, oh, like, well, you're suffering now, but like it'll work out later. And I find that to be kind of a pernicious and evil idea. But I don't think that that's necessarily like an inevitability of religious practice, right? And in fact, there's, you know, rich traditions in essentially every religion that are fully engaged with the material world, right? I mean, this is also like, I mean, coming back to you, it'd be like, this is something that Em and I have what we call a pro-Catholic bias, because we understand that the Catholic Church is evil.
True.
And that it is like an object of incredible harm in the lives of literally billions of people.
Yeah.
For
literally thousands of years.
Yes. Yep. But the Pope will say that there's climate change and the churches are cool. So, you know, that's two ups on Mormons who have neither of those things.
There's only one Chicago Pope, and her name is Lady Wachowski.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about your book. But one thing I really liked about it is that you talk about the things you did like in the church. You talk about like the moments where you really felt like kinship with other people, and when you felt like you were like connected to God. And I like the way that you're able to not just look back in anger fully, like really give like a nuanced take of like, these are some of the reasons why I felt so pulled to the church. This is why it took a long time to leave it. It wasn't just one thing. It was the accumulation of many things that caused you to leave.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think what makes it even more interesting is how you tie it all into video games. Because like when I'm playing a video game, I'm not usually thinking about God. I'm thinking about how do I get this Charmander to Charmeleon, which, you know, I guess you could say maybe Charizard is God, but like I guess one thing I want to know is like, when did you realize that you had this talent for like video game criticism?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think that so I started writing on a blog, on like Blogspot, and my first, I think I mentioned this in the book, but the first thing I ever published online was like a kind of analysis of Mass Effect through like Christianity metaphor stuff.
I don't wanna like step in and be like, that's a little bit of US. It was specifically Mass Effect fanfic.
I mean, kind of was. Well, no. So that was separate. I wrote Mass Effect fanfic, and then also I wrote some criticism.
Look, I really like that essay, and I do want to talk about it.
No, but I mean, so, and then I eventually started publishing it on the Kotaku forums, which were like a thing back then in a way that I think they just got comments back because they're under new leadership, under new ownership.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so like, and people like did respond to it positively and like engaged with it actively. And that was like the first kind of taste I had of that, of like online reception point. And I think the thing is that also, essentially everybody I am colleagues with in this field that I talk to regularly is like deeply frustrated with games criticism across the board. I think it is like, I think it's not that it's like easier to write, but I think it's easy to see what's fucked up about it and easy to be like, I'm not going to do that, in a way that might be trickier for other arenas of criticism where there is like more maturity and there's just like more good stuff. Like there's more interesting things happening in music crit even now, even though it's like hard, like, and there's all, criticism in general, it's just in a bad spot, right? Like here in Chicago, I think it was the Sun-Times that fired their film critic. It's like the newspapers that spawned Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert like don't have film critics anymore, and that like is insane.
And Chicago Reader,
Yes.
Weekly is, it's fighting for its life.
Yeah. So I think these are things that have like, for a lot of reasons, lost cultural value. But I think that so for me it was kind of like feeling really passionate about it, and then also feeling this like urge to kind of engage with it in a new way or find alternate ways of thinking about it. And being a part of like kind of the tail end of a generation of critics who were really like engaged with doing that. Like, I mean, like Dia, who introduced the book, right? My friend Dia Lucina, who's like been in Games Crit for like 10 years and has, takes no shit. And so she's, I think like there were people like who were kind of who I looked up to and providing a model. And then also like I had this drive. And so I don't know that, and the thing is that it's easy, I think, to feel, because so much of Game Crit is kind of bad. It's just, I feel like it's easy to feel like, oh yeah, I'm better than these guys. Like, I don't know that like if you stack me up against like a middle tier film critic, if I'm really that interesting, but like in the realm of Games Crit, it is like I don't have a lot of competition, and I don't mean to be.
I think you are an interesting writer, and your thoughts are clearly laid out in this way that like evoke something larger than just look at this movie, look at this game, look at this book.
Yeah.
When hearing you speak, I think about this old meme, an ancient
meme.
Like a meme so old, like it existed before the sharks. It existed before the Appalachian Mountains. But it's this picture of Jeff Keighley sitting in a red press room with just Mountain Dew branding all over him.
Yeah, and the like giant Master Chief cutout in the room.
A lot of criticism currently just exists as a marketing pit stop in a marketing press tour for the newest movie or the newest book or the newest game.
Yeah.
And there are like real material capitalist reasons. And what I like about your book is that you just get into it. Like there are moments in this when I read your writing where in my mind I'm like, is she gonna say it? Is she gonna say it? Is she gonna say it? And then you do say it. You say like one of the reasons why criticism is so shit is the search for SEO optimization that leads to more views, that leads to more clicks, that leads to the thing that gets these newspapers, these online outlets going, which is advertising.
Yeah.
And you just call it out. And I like that. I like that. You always go there.
You don't know anything about advertising, right?
Nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Effectively nothing. Something happened to me last year that it erased the hard drive of that info for me.
Yeah, I think there's that, and then also love all the calls for communist revolution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do feel kind of embarrassed about how much I did that as like 5-6 years ago, because I do think that like, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily fair to my past self to be like I had an outsized idea of like what my writing could do. I think the thing I had an outside thing about is like the value that my writing expressed. I don't know.
Yeah, you talk about this in your commentary because one of the things about this book is that you got like 19 essays from the classic Grace archives, and then you have 5 new essays, and all the classic essays have new commentary. So if you're like the #1 Grace fan, there's going to be new commentary about all the essays you love and new essays. So sounds like you should buy multiple books. But one thing I liked is that you give us this essay where you call for revolution, and then just like you're doing now, you kind of like critique your old self and say like, you say in the book that you've like lost some of the hope that you had when you wrote something, which I thought was really interesting because there's multiple transitions. Obviously, there's this transition that we both went through.
Mm-hmm.
There's the transition from the Mormon church to outside of the Mormon church. And then there's this third transition, which is the transition to not having as much hope anymore.
Yeah.
And I kind of was wondering, like, what do you think was the cause of that transition? Is it because of all the death in Gaza? Is it because of the deteriorating country, or are there other reasons where you think you kind of lost some of that?
I think part of it, sincerely a part of it, is that I feel like I was kind of alluding to earlier. I do kind of like, I don't think, people who are reading this book that I self-publish and are my friends probably share these values in like a deep way, right? And so it's like, I kind of feel like I'm not really persuading anybody. I'm not really like, I think criticism should challenge, right? And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to talk necessarily about like what I think my work does, but like what I think criticism should make you think, and it should like challenge your assumptions. And I wanted to kind of move forward into a place where like I was exploring kind of topics with more nuance, with more, not necessarily more care, but more complexity and thoroughness. And I think I didn't want to just have a call to action at the end. So part of it is just like, I think my attitude towards what criticism is and what it should do has changed. And that has meant that like I have less kind of polemic stuff in it. I do also think that, I think that it has been, and I think this is also a function of like other realizations I've had. I mean, to be vulnerable again, but like something that I've been exploring and thinking about a lot is like my autism and like being mentally disabled. I mean, that's also extreme because like it doesn't mental disability is like its own category of thing, but being disabled and having like struggle to kind of exist in the world as it is. And in the sense of like, I get really depressed, but also kind of in these like more kind of practical, functional, like sensory ways. And that limits my ability to be and act, right? And having to accept those limits, but also trying to figure out how to be involved in the organization that I do believe is like a moral imperative, right? And so I think part of it is also having to kind of feel out more like I have limits. My body has limits and my mind has limits. And figuring out like how to believe in that. I think that it is also, thirdly, kind of a cultural shift, partially just towards conservatism, but also I think we've had, over the 10 years that I've been like semi-politically aware, it's like we've had so many huge mass movements that have felt like they have done nothing, right? And I don't think it's necessarily that easy. And I don't think that, but I feel like there has been, and also, there's been a posture of radicalism that, I mean, now that the mask has kind of fallen off and there's just like a skull there, but there was a posture of radicalism from capitalists and from even like a lot of like capitalist aligned, regular people that, mask this kind of like inhuman violence and destruction, right? Or sort of just a disingenuousness, right? Not to necessarily be too dramatic about it. And that has kind of fallen away. And so I think there's a sense for a lot of people that, including myself, that like, I don't really, like, I have allies in my life. I have people I'm in community with in my life. But like in the sense of like mass movement stuff, I feel kind of alienated, right? And so I think that also, and like the stuff with Palestine, like fuels that because like it's still happening. It's been 2 years and it's still happening. And like, I'm not trying to call out any organizers or be like, we're fucking things up. And the ultimate responsibility is obviously with the IOF
states.
and the state. Yes,
like,
obviously.
I think,
but
something that I hear you say, and I've read in your book, is this idea that maybe you were a little more Pollyanna back then, and
Maybe,
that's why you were kind of ending a lot of essays with and the ghost of Marx is within us. And I would say that I think as a writer and in a space that is not interested in real collective politics, like games, anything.
Yeah, I mean that is starting to change. Like, thank God. Like,
th-
there are more organized newsrooms. There's more stuff happening, but like it is hard out here.
And I think the fact that you were writing that kind of that stuff 6 years ago, I honestly think that does show a sense of foresight. Because back then we understood the need for a monumental change. The people that like were politically minded, politically active, and now we're at a point where those words, those calls to action, they should have been taken seriously. They should have been taken seriously both in the editing room, in the ballot box, and you know what? As you're walking by and you see that brick, like I think your willingness to be humble and say, hey, I don't know how much like my words might have blah blah blah, and maybe my audience is already like a favorable audience. I think all of that is still incredibly productive and useful. I think one of the takeaways that I took from this book is to see someone take on this collective mindset and use it in something that I have seen slop for literally 15 years of my life.
Yeah.
I think about your essay on Hades and how it's this kind of, at the core of it is upholding patriarchal norms, the family structure of the nuclear age, and including like the position that women hold and what they are useful in as brokers in between male destructive figures.
Yeah.
And I think when I read that, I was like, oh shit. this game that I literally only played drunk. It's actually conservative dribble. Oh shit. Incredible dribble. I love that game.
Yeah.
But for the first time I read something that I was just like, oh, okay. The height of this video game isn't that it's horny.
No,
and
it's also
bisexual.
it's not horny. God damn it. It's not horny.
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, sorry.
It goes further.
Yeah.
It shows that like the thinnest paint of I'm just gonna say representative politics.
Yeah.
Is enough to like get some people galloping, and you need like a real creative, a real critical mind to look at it and say, actually, maybe we should think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do like your structure of the old essay and the commentary of that old essay. It is an actual practice of self-crit.
Yeah.
It is an actual practice of things change, things get better. The way that you act and think is not static, and you should believe in yourself as you develop and you review the past.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about this a lot in the book, but my favorite, I mean, a huge influence on, I mean, really anything I write is Ursula K. Le Guin. And I was reading something by her recently where she said, my biggest problem with literature is that it can't change its mind. Which I really, and she was kind of trying to write literature that could, I think, for so much of her career. And so that was like something that was both her work on Earthsea in fiction and then also her own essays on Lifetime to Darkness and kind of self-criticizing her own work were like huge influences on the way I wanted to approach this. And it's also something where people don't get this opportunity to write and reflect on their own work ever. It is really hard to be able to do that in like a serious way. And so I felt like I could make a contribution to the video game space by kind of doing that. And also, yeah, I think that like some of my strongest stuff in the book is, I mean, the Hades piece was a real response to the discourse. I mean, you alluded to a bunch of this stuff when you were talking.
Oh.
And I think that, like, I do want criticism to be not necessarily meaner, although sometimes it can be, but like more confrontational and more conversational. Right. And so I think that that is something that that's also a value that like I've been trying to hone more and be sort of more engaged with the past of criticism and also what other people are saying and then trying to like respond to it and work through it. Right.
I'm wondering if there will ever be a, second version of this book where you're like, okay, it's been a few years. Now I have some criticism of the newer essays.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I have some criticism of the criticism. I was right the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I think at a certain point you do have to like cut the cord. Right? You have to say it's here now. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Because I was writing it and was like, I could, like, there was, I had an essay idea about Alan Wake and Stephen King and like author as God, and that sounded really interesting and that I was intrigued by and interested in writing, but kind of like hit a like I have to finish this, and I got paid basically I got money from the Kickstarter right away, and I took 2 months off work to work on the book, so I wasn't taking time off really, but like and so at a certain point it was like, okay, this like is not going to make it in because, but it's like I could have written like double the material. But there was a point where I was thinking about this project as sort of a farewell to games crit, and that has not happened. Like I'm now making more money writing about video games than I've ever made, which is kind of nuts and stupid considering how bad a space the scene is in. And also I'm not making very much money, as you can imagine. But like, I think that, I don't know. I don't know. I would be open to revisiting something, but I think the book is the book. I don't know that I want to like, I could write an essay about the process, like a postmortem on the book. I think I would be open to doing that, but I don't think, but I don't think I would want to do like a second version of it.
Yeah. You're not going to have a version where you're like, I should have talked about Jesus and Judas kissing.
I mean, did I not talk about that?
You talked about like the kind of Judas's love for Jesus. I don't know if you mentioned the physical act.
Right. Yeah. That's too bad. I should have done
More
that.
men should be kissing. I mean, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, well,
If you're a guy right now, find another guy. You know what?
I think you should. I mean, I guess maybe I'm a hypocrite because I've never kissed a man, but I feel like people should. I feel like people should have the experience. Like you should do something and see how you feel about it.
No one on this couch has kissed a man.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I'm not on that couch. There's real segregation in this podcast. I'm wearing a pin right now. I'm gonna flash it. You see it?
Ooh.
You see it?
I do see it.
My glasses aren't on, but I know what it says.
What does it say?
Well, you know what? Why don't
I can read it. It says token straight friend.
Now, how? Some might wonder why is AP wearing a token straight friend pin right now? Didn't he have a whole episode last year about getting a little saucy with it?
Yeah.
Yes.
After Trump got elected, he went back in the closet.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to make money and I can't afford a Bitcoin right now.
Oh my god.
The
thing is, okay, well, but you could never mind. There are things you could do to make money by being homosexual, is all I'm saying.
That's right. Yeah. I could
don't want to
gamble.
encourage anything.
Yeah, I could gamble. I could sports bet. Yeah,
Certain
no,
OnlyFans,
absolutely.
yes,
But gaily,
Yes,
like
yeah.
homosexually. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Marcy, how did I get this?
I gave it to you.
Yeah, why did you give it to me?
Well, this was before you came out as queer, so, and I don't have a lot of straight friends in my life, so I was like, I should give this to.
So if you're straight and you're friends with Marcy, watch out. Watch out.
You're just a token to her.
Yeah. Until she like infects you with the woke mind.
Right? Yeah. True. Yeah. She's gonna fucking get you.
I got this pin as a little gift from Marcy. I was heterosexual outside of my brain, but inside of my brain, I was a little fruity with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about like queerness in like religion, in like my own video game experience, and I think about like I guess in the grander things like media that I've consumed. Reading this, this idea came out that I haven't thought in maybe over 10 years since I've seen like Dragon Ball Super, which is one. Okay, laugh at me.
No.
read your
I'm very interested in what you were about to say. I promise. That was a laugh of like amusement and excitement, not of disdain.
I think one of my first anime like attractions was Freeza.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Oh my god, that's woke of you, honestly.
And like, yeah, I was a little kid and like sure, or like like a young man, whatever. Like, but like this like evil gay boy, I love that shit.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And like reading your stuff, like I just felt so like. I realized that I'm not vulnerable at all with my thoughts about some of the media that I consume and how that feeds into like my own queerness.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think that is like a weird thing is that like I don't know. There is the for a lot of us, at least in our generation, it's like the first time you see someone who's queer is like you watch a Disney movie and the bad guy's kind of fruity or whatever. Like it's in this sort of like broken mirror way.
And to some, that's like an evil, like little alien gay guy. Maybe Ace. He might be Ace.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on
Like,
with Freeza.
But I think about we've mentioned your vulnerability in this, but I think about how I'm not vulnerable in this. As I read this and I asked you this question in our group chat, which is like, is this book kind of like a introduction to criticism? Mm-hmm. And you say, no, I mean, I'm just that good of a writer that like you learn as you read.
I did not say that.
There are multiple times where Grace is like, there's this other essay. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, like,
I do that. That I do. That I'll grant you.
But I have zero clue if I ever like felt bad about being queer because of my former religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. Like, even though no one was really... People were homophobic to make sure. The same way that everyone's homophobic to everyone in the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
And if you didn't live through that, you don't know what you're missing out. But I'm bringing it back.
I mean, I think it's already back. Yeah.
It has come back.
I'm bringing sexy back, too.
Okay, well...
we could use that. That's a good song, honestly.
And I guess, like, I'm going to ask this to my co-host here. Uh-huh. Did it, because you have the least religious like experience out of this room, mm-hmm. Did you ever feel like the religious air that you were breathing held you back?
I don't think so, because like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I'm really thinking this through. But yeah, I don't think I never really did because I feel like I just didn't think about it too much. I mean, I definitely did like have long, like I would lie down in my bed as a kid and think about, wait, does God exist? That kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I never had a moment where it's like, oh, you know what? The religious vibes are causing me to not pursue. I think part of it is like I didn't come to queerness until I came to transness, and so the big question was like, am I a woman? And eventually I came to the answer, well, I want to be happy. In order to be happy, I want to be hot. In order to be hot, I need to be a woman. So therefore I am a woman.
Cheat code. Write that down. Listener, write that down.
Yeah, it's the new up, down, left, right, AB, whatever it is. So yeah, I don't think it ever did.
Do you find that fascinating?
Yeah, I do. I think it is very because I mean I think yeah, like I can't speak for you, but it's like it was such
You
a
can.
huge
I mean-
part of my life, right? Like it was all my friends were Mormon. And I mean, you know, I lived in Utah. It was like I was in a certain kind of situation. And also I was in you know, my parents are like dyed in the wool liberals, lifetime New Yorker subscribers, you know the type, you know. And so I did
Yeah.
have a different
Matty Iglesias readers.
oh my god, I don't actually think so. but you know, yeah. In the neighborhood, in the genre. And so I did have like kind of a different relationship to Mormonism because it was not necessarily primarily a conservative force in my life. And it was kind of as I became an adult and as I went on a mission and kind of got outside of my like weird little liberal bubble that I was like, oh, it is not like that out here. Right.
I think there's also like a racial element.
Yeah.
You know, like I grew up in a different culture where like I saw trans people on Mexican television. I saw a weird little queer artist types on Mexican national television. And although like I didn't like clock him as like, hell, you know, like that's a different way of living that I could also explore. That only when I like was around white Christians that I realized that like there is that level of like suffocation.
Yeah. No, I think this is something that we read Stone Fruit together for a book club. And that's something that I thought was really cool about that book is that there's this because it's about I think she's Asian American. I don't remember I think she's Chinese. I want to say the particulars don't matter, but not Christian. And then her partner is a trans like evangelical person, and there is this like both of them have this distance to each other, and it's like I can't really understand like what it's like to have been religious or to been in that. Like that is so alien to me. And I think that is like I mean, and also Mormonism, it's actually really weird because there are more Mormons outside of the United States than in it. But still the majority of church leadership are white Mormons from Utah.
Shout out to East Asia.
Yeah. And so much of the like rhetoric of the church is fixated on America.
Yeah.
And even like on the American political situation, like, you know, the explicit political interventions that the church has made in the last 25 years, right, have all been U.S. stuff as far as I'm aware.
That is interesting, right? I've only read a little bit of Mormon thoughts, right? But Joseph Smith, just as a figure, is like such a oddity to me.
He's legitimately so fascinating. And like a great historical character in the sense that like I don't think there is like a canon, like you can't there's not really a way to definitively say what that guy was up to, you know, or what he believed about himself.
But so American, American that he started in the East Coast and navigated his way to the land of Lincoln.
True.
Until he was kicked out.
Well, he died there.
Well, yeah. And then
or maybe it's a little bit over. I don't remember.
Kicked out of the mortal coil.
Yeah.
Most of us. And then like it's so American that like the story went on to the West.
Yeah.
Where freedom laid, where you could still make a name for yourself, you could still make riches at the time. And like now it's like so American that even the fact that there is this developed evangelical side of things, these missions that are sent out, like to fit into the same old that we all know about, you know, colonialism, whatever. Whatever.
Totally.
Which you also call out, which I'm also like, thank you. I really like reading that. I just know that I think there's something lost in my understanding of all of this and the hurts that a lot of people walk around with, like post-Christian life, because I just didn't have that. I didn't have the one-to-one that a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
No,
I'm always like fascinated because we have multiple friends who have religious trauma, and I'm always fascinated to like hear people talk about it. And yeah, similarly to you, I'm like I don't really relate to this, but it's like an important part of like the the society that we live in.
Yeah.
And I feel like having people like you analyze it, I feel like
Yeah.
I really enjoy that kind of
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think it is like something that I think this is also tied into why I've changed some of my language around like why I don't make calls to action as much in criticism. Is there is this like element of so much of our culture is so kind of weighed down with this very sort of Christian moral thinking. And the way that we interact with morality is wound into like you know, certain kinds of people being flawless and sort of redemptive to others, or even like, okay, like, you know, the black trans women will save us and we don't have to act, right? We can sort of be passive and let these like idealized people do the correct thing, right? That they're like predisposed to do, right? And like all these kinds of things. So it's like, I think in obviously the injustice of it is more pronounced in like conservative circles, but I think like the way we think about morality is so structured by Christianity that it is just everywhere. And I don't have like a solution to that, but I do think it's something that I want to be conscious of, and that I think there is like, it's just in some ways like a lack of consciousness around, and that people can often be like, well, like I left the church or I was never in it. And so I don't have to like deal with or like work through some of these ways that has shaped my thinking. And I don't think that's true. I think you gotta think about it.
I think like even if I didn't go to church, people who went to church were in positions of authority and spread stuff that they learned in church.
Yeah, no, totally. I think
Say his name, Josh Howley. I bring this up to say that like your book as a text, as someone endlessly fascinated with like the thought of the American people, is so illuminating on a handful of different things. Because like Mormonism inherently and will always be tied to America.
Yes, definitely.
Literally the promised land.
Yeah, no. Yes.
And like video games also deeply tied to American concepts. Some of the first video games were developed here. Of course, there's like England and Japan, whatever. But these two things that are so fundamentally American, and actually the examination of the capitalist forces that make both those things what they are today, I find it. I have found no other writing that's like this.
Yeah.
And I have found no other. It just like it tickles me. It makes it's so enjoying. And
So what you're saying is Grace's book gives you queer joy.
yes. Yes, mortal. I just like it. And I almost kind of feel bad for like the queer people that are walking around with that stuff. Like even if I go as far as to say that, like when I hear about religion or like spiritual beliefs, I look at it with a little bit of fascination and awe, because I'm kind of like it's kind of nice to believe that there's a sky daddy that like loves you forever.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of nice actually.
Or it's kind of nice to say that you're in this moment in life, you're in a position in a larger cyclical nature that will lead you to like the next level of being until you find some enlightenment. I like hearing that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times in leftist circles, there's talk about how we have things to learn from the church. Like, we don't want to take everything that the church does and just copies it. But there's a reason why people go to church like on a weekly or even more often basis.
Yeah.
And like that's like a community that people depend on. And
well, that's some, like in Utah, this is a huge thing that Mormons, it kind of took the place of the welfare state, right? That it's like instead of getting food stamps, or instead of you go to church and you get, you get paid. There's like a church in Mormon church. There's like a system for paying for helping poor people out. And so you get that money.
You
And
mentioned that it's like one of these flash donations that you could do.
Yes, yeah. But the thing is that it is also this weird, because obviously it's like a cool thing to give money to people in need or members in need, but it becomes, when there isn't a welfare state to go back on, it becomes a coercive force, right? It's like you have to stay in the church to get access to the money, right? Or
Right.
and that shapes things in a negative way.
I mean, no
obviously.
different than the state.
No different than the state.
Like,
That's
true.
true.
Like,
That's true. Yeah.
you want some health or unemployment benefits, you better have some part-time job. It doesn't matter that that's 35 hours a week. You need to have that.
Yeah.
I want to talk. I want to talk just a little bit about some of the other things that you hit on in this. Well, actually, honestly, I think we should talk about video games for just a tiny
For a little
bit.
bit, we should talk
For
about
just
video
a
games.
tiny bit. And one of those is, I like, in one of your essays, you talk about like games that kind of describe, like a daily or weekly or monthly like events that you do for benefits within games, like Bungie's Destiny,
Yes. Yeah.
as rituals. And this is something that like I've actually heard and had conversations around. And this is actually something that like I think separates me as a gamer from other people. I don't give a fuck about a daily reward. I don't give a fuck about a weekly reward.
Yeah.
These little like trinkets that like are held over me to like come back and enjoy the game. I'm just like, what? No, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, religion, I also don't care about it in that way. Like,
But I mean, I think that is like, it is like a coercive way of design, and that's something I talk about. Is like, I'm like, I should have talked about that side of it more in my commentary on that essay. I'm like, I think I could have stood to talk more about that as like being tied into the gambling industry and being about like compelling you to spend more time doing this thing. But
Yeah, this reminds me of how I say that I don't play any video games, but I'm on like a 2 or 3 year streak on Duolingo.
yeah, Duolingo is very much designed this way.
Yeah, it's like
y ella sabe
I'm
el español increíblemente.
like I feel like I haven't
Entro a la
actually.
casa y dice, oye, compa, ¿cómo estás?
I feel like I
¿Cómo está tu
haven't actually
pancita?"
learned any Spanish like in over a year, because the things I'm focused on are keeping my daily streak, which you can do by just like playing a matching game between words. And also there's friend streaks. I have like 150 friend streaks in a row where you're paired with someone every week and you have like a task where it's like both of you together need to collect like 50 perfect lessons or 30 lessons with 90% accuracy, or get 1,000 XP together, or something like this. And whenever you get one of those,
Just how like Goku asks for like spirit,
spirit
energy
bombs,
to
yeah.
make us.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I'm not focused on like the lessons where you actually learn new words or learn new grammar. I'm focused on what can I do that will either be the easiest lesson possible or the lesson that'll give me the most XP. So it's not actually doing what it's designed to do.
Yeah, well, no, I think it is. I think it is the function of a design is what it does, not what it says it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's Duolingo is designed to be compulsive before it is designed to teach you a language. That's like 100% true.
Es la verdad.
And I mentioned this as I was reading this in the video games that I played this year. I think about what actually does bring me to want to play a video game, and like. There's only two engines. One is I want to do some mindless action.
Yeah.
That isn't like extremely repetitive. I just want to like sink in and just do a thing. And then the other thing is narrative.
Yeah.
Like if the story isn't good, I just don't care. I've played so much All Orcs Must Die this year just because it's like a mindless game. Right, but every single piece of narrative that it like dangles over me, I'm like, you're not. No,
Don't talk to me.
Like what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm someone who has never really gotten to video games for the story. Partially because I'm a Nintendo gamer. But yeah, I think I was impressed by the way you could take it. Like the one game you talk about in this book that I've played, besides the Stray that Banjo-Kazooie got, is Super Mario Galaxy. And when I was playing that game, I definitely wasn't thinking about like Rosalina's like relationship with the divine feminine, but I really did enjoy kind of your analysis of that.
Yeah.
Because I think like I liked how you noted in the commentary that like the end of your essay, like it's supported by the game itself. You're not just making this kind of call to action that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think I would love to become a person who eventually is like, I'm in the video. I'm playing this video game because I love the story. I'm like so addicted to finding out whether this Final Fantasy character is gonna like betray this. That's what I go for Survivor for. But I think that's one of the beautiful things about media is that different people can go to different medias for different
But also
things.
like there's a truly great former video game critic now, like narrative designer Lee Alexander, who I sent you some of her stuff. She is like a newsletter about the game design of reality shows, right? And sort of that like Survivor is something that has a design,
yes,
and that part of the appeal is like watching people wriggle their way like mice through a labyrinth through the design and seeing what comes out of like the interactions of like the kind of messy sort of human quadrant with the like hard lines of how the design works, right? And I think that's, I mean, this is something that like I think makes this go is games are sort of existential. They're little worlds. They're voyeuristic. You're watching someone do something, and that gives it sort of a quality of like godness, right? God games are literally a genre, but then also I think it like is kind of like the appeal of it is, I don't know, just like watching that stuff happen. And I think that it doesn't, narrative is design just as much as it's anything else. It is just as much like, what does it mean to interact with the world, or how do you hit this button? That is narrative just as much as like something you watch in a cutscene, right?
And when it's good, magic.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I think that's like Pathologic 2 is a game I put multiple essays about in because I think that's like the masterclass in exactly this thing, is that like that is an experience that feels so tightly wound. Like it would be different. It would be in kind of, and I don't mean to be, I don't know, like I find it stupid to be like, there should have been a movie or there should have been a book or whatever. I find that silly.
This podcast should have been an email.
This podcast should have been an email. Sometimes I've listened to podcasts that should have been emails. But I do think that like that's a game where the fact of getting hungry and having to eat is so important to how it works thematically. It's so tied into like everything, and it would be different. It's different to watch somebody go through that, and it is active. I think there's an implication in a lot of video games of like, oh, video games are active and they're interactive in a way that other media isn't, and I think that's bullshit. Books are deeply interactive. Film is deeply interactive. You're always making interpretive choices. A cut, like in a film, when you're watching a movie and it cuts from one camera angle to another, your brain is making the gap between those two things work, right? You are making an interpretive leap that gives you information, right? Or when like there's like a scene in Strike, the early Soviet film, where a bunch of workers are being killed for going on strike, and then it cuts to like a slaughterhouse or like a bull's throat being cut, right? And it's like, it's not, the movie is making an argument in a certain sense, but also like you're the person who makes that argument work, like your brain, and that's active. That's not passive. Right. I'm sorry, I went on a soapbox there.
It's literally not Fahrenheit 451. Giant screens on your walls that like force information into you.
Right. And I think there is something to like TikTok being sort of a kind of because it's not inactive, right? But it is passive in the sense that it's encouraging you to not think about it. Right. And I think that is something that I think can be really, something like Pathologic 2 is so abrasive and so systems driven that like to engage with it, you have to think about it. There is this necessary thought being drawn, right? And I think that can be such a powerful thing. And I think that's video games tend to go the other way. I mean, kind of like you were describing, and this is not I also play games to just like listen to a podcast or unwind.
Like Dove Weather, 5 stars.
Yeah. But I do think that there is something really powerful in the like you can kind of make design that just like focuses your attention and makes you kind of like fall into the machine, or you can make a design that's making you think about what you're looking at and engaging with.
And
right?
to me, like I've played a lot of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like the 2 games that I have played the most is Doom 2016.
Okay, yeah.
And God of War, the Norse one.
Yeah, 2018.
And like those games, one of them is a very, very like traditional setup of you play some stuff, then there's some cutscenes. Some cutscenes that honestly are difficult to like keep up with, but like if you read some of the logs, you'll figure things out. Right? And then another one, which is like from the school of this is an HBO drama.
Yes. Yeah.
And you should, you should swing this axe, but also you should think about how this guy is like pained inside. You know, he's not just a one-note evil guy. And like, although those games aren't, they exist within the world of media that is right now, but I've played them so much because when I think about being Kratos and literally killing a god, like killing Modi, or like killing, I guess he doesn't kill Modi, but like killing,
Baldur?
Yeah, killing gods. Like I just sit there and I think, okay, I've grinded out my stats to be able to like beat this guy easily, and I know all his moves. And to me, it like scratches this itch that says I am interpreting information like I can't interpret anywhere else.
Right.
Like I've played enough rhythm games to know that the comparison of Doom 2016 as a rhythm game versus like Doom 2016 clones that are actual rhythm games is different.
Yeah.
Because there's a level of freedom in all these systems that I have, all these weapons that I have, that sets me, although like not in a narrative way, not in a narrative rewarding way, but in a gameplay way that it just does something to me.
Yeah.
It makes it like lights something in me. In the same way that when I watch a movie I like, for example, Play It As It Lays, it like hearing the dialogue just
Sounds like you're having an erotic experience.
I mean, I think that's probably broadly, erotics is about sensation.
I would describe it as like a dopamine rush, but I guess switch their own. Twitch sexual freak their own.
Yeah, and so you used to go to the atheism YouTube for the dopamine rush, and
Which
now
I never did that, but like thinking about like the time that I did move from like believing in stuff. Right now, I would say that I don't believe in anything spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that is tarot card readings. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, miss. I wonder what this quarter will be like. Let me go have a tarot card reading.
I'm reaching for my tarot cards right now.
No.
Yeah, we're gonna give you a tarot reading live on the podcast. No, it's JK, we're not gonna do that.
But I don't.
Okay, you know what? No, I'm getting chaotic on you because I think the thing about tarot cards is it's less about believing in something spiritual for me, and it's more about like how the interpretation of the cards from the reader to the person who's being read to comes out. Because oftentimes, like for instance, I was given a tarot reading where someone noticed like, oh, this person is like very angry at herself for like not fixing the connection to her Venmo from the credit card, and is having trouble paying me. And therefore, these cards, I'm going to talk about how she needs to, take more time for herself and, all that kind of thing.
And the Hierophant card said that? That's wild.
And it's like how these days, like I can interpret the tarot card reading as like, oh, this is about my relationship. This is about how, I'm doing a lot of super cool trance stuff, and I'm feeling more comfortable in my body. So yeah,
I'm being humorous. Yes.
Oh, so
Like,
am I, bitch.
but like, to me, that just comes naturally. Like, I understand myself very well. I have an introspection that is keen, and I just don't believe anything supernatural because it doesn't. I don't think it's ever given me a deeper understanding of myself.
Yeah.
I don't care that like horoscopes exist. I don't care that like there might be like some divine reason why I suffered something. None of that stuff is important to me because I just, well, one, I went through a near-death experience a couple of months ago, but like also like before that, I didn't care because it never like came to me when I needed it.
But I do think that it is like, because I have felt very, and even like recently, I've been kind of thinking about like there are things where, like one of my best friends, Sophie, who I do Closet Crit with most of the time, which is one of our podcasts on the Safe Room Network. Don't worry about it.
Subscribe to the Patreon.
And we're like, we also both grew up in the church together. We're really close friends. And it was like wonderful to be with them for so long. It's also been a couple of years since we've seen each other for various reasons. And so like, and then, so I was sad. I'm still sad that she's not here, that she's gone. Right. And we're like, we're kind of making intentions to like spend more time together. And, so I think it'll work out. But the day after she left is when like a postcard she had sent of like, 5 or 6 days ago came. And there's just something and I know that it's just like my monkey brain making patterns and connections. Right. And instead it's just like systems so vast that coincidences happen. And those coincidences get taken as meaning. But I think there is something, sometimes it has helped me to understand my life as having a direction or having a purpose. And like, especially in the like, because I think, and this is also kind of a contradictory thing, but like, because religion has been such a source of like regret in my life. And has been like, there's so many experiences that I wish I could have had, things I wish I could have done, that I withheld myself from because of being Mormon and because I thought that was the right thing to do. And now I'm like, fuck, man, like that sucked. I shouldn't have been doing those things. That was wrong even. And so, but it's also like, if I hadn't been in the exact, like, I don't know that Sophie and I would know each other. I don't know that Emma and my wife would know each other. Like, I don't know that I would be sitting here in this room with both of you, right? And that like, and this is actually kind of a Nietzsche idea apparently, but like sort of this thing of like trying to love and appreciate the meaning that has come through my life. But the thing is that the thing I do, I find meaning in that, but I also struggle with the flip side of that, which is like, how is it meaningful or truthful or just to be a 2-month-old child who's killed in a bomb strike, right? What is that supposed to mean?
I was gonna say something there before you talked about a bomb strike. I was gonna say Charlie XCX said the same thing. Everything's so romantic.
Everything is That's so fucking true. I love that song.
And and of course not the murder of a child. Right?
No. So many of the people in Palestine are praying and are faithful and are, I'm about to get a little communist on this podcast.
Yay!
But like that, I sometimes still think of like the images of like the missiles falling on Tel Aviv and the like masses of people in Gaza like weeping and praising God, right? And that is like astounding to me that there is still this like profound, and the idea of like people being martyrs and things, that there's still this profound faith in like I don't know, the plan's maybe the wrong word, but in the sort of divine.
There's an understanding that's beyond our Western brains.
Yeah,
Because
perhaps. Yeah,
I've seen similar videos. I think about the Yemeni people. Like I've seen videos of them literally being bomb struck, like a couple of like in the background, and then just being like, "Yeah, fucking bring it on, motherfucker."
yeah.
And I think like
I do think a part of it's maybe that the way I think about it is kind of individual, and its survival is maybe more collective and different. I don't know, because we live in such an individualistic culture, and I also don't want to idealize these places that I've never been and don't know that much about, right? But
I'll idealize Yemen coffee grounds. They're very nice.
yeah, have you? Yeah,
And
they know they know
like,
coffee.
no spirituality has ever come to me when I needed it. And I don't think that's a knock to spirituality.
No, yeah.
What I do think, it's like, if I've never been really like in the knife end of spirituality, as in I don't walk around with religious grief.
Yeah.
And I've never been in the like, I don't know, the money gun end of like a spiritual belief, as in I've benefited from it. Like, what does it have? What does it have in my life?
Yeah.
And I would say nothing. I would say that the thing that I care about the most these days is the belief that we have each other.
Yeah.
And that is enough.
And I think that is like, yeah. So I very much agree with you. And I think that is
the
like,
Pollyanna comes out.
I think this is the thing that that there's kind of an idea in Mormonism that I do. Well, it's also expressed in kind of a fucked up way as usual. But there's the idea that when you go through all the like, they call it like saving ordinances, you like bind yourself in this network that connects back to God, right? And so there's this like gigantic web of familial connection that is like woven into God. And the way that Mormonism expresses is, of course, like bound up in like white supremacy and like the family as a traditional structured unit, right? And all these kinds of things, right, that I am morally opposed to. But there is something about that boundness, that connection, and I think that is real. And I don't know if that means that there's like a God or that there's like a thing that made us that looks like us or whatever it is, right? But I do think that like there is a fact of someone picked the fruit that I pick up at the grocery store. Someone designed this microphone that I'm speaking into, and like that connection is horrifying and beautiful, and that it exists with or without like God to structure it.
Right. And that's honestly how I feel about a lot of things these days. Where I struggle to think, what am I going to do for Palestine? You know, like I'm not a senator. I'll never be one, probably. I'm not the president. I'm not the CEO of some Fortune 500 company. I'm not a millionaire. I think about, what am I gonna do? Like, it's so big. It's such a disastrous thing that like even if I might think that it's a genocide and I can like stand up against it, what am I gonna do really?
Yeah.
Which is like, it's a hard thing to like accept. But like, if I am just sitting around thinking, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I'll never do anything.
Yeah.
And I think if somehow my tax dollars ended the life of that 2-month-old baby, there's gotta be some way that my doings can prevent the next one.
Yeah.
And although I might not have the perfect path, the golden path that the Kwisatz Haderach might see,
Yeah.
what I am choosing to do today in Chicago, I have to believe in a way that is not based on incredibly material things, but like based on something.
Yeah.
That it will end the suffering there. And I don't really get into my like organizing life on the podcast. But
no, as you should, you were doing the correct thing.
I just do it. I have to just do it with the belief that like it's gonna mean something. That the same way that someone built this microphone, someone collected the grapes that I ate this morning. I have to believe that my actions will help the people in Palestine, will help the people in Mexico, will help the people in the south side of Chicago.
Yeah. And I think that is like the thing of like part of the like capitalism alienates you from the way your labor does things in the world. Right. And I think that it's like a weird thing to say, but I think sometimes organizing can be like that too, where it's like you're kind of disconnected from the impact your actions are having, or you're trying to, I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but I just feel like
I think it makes sense. Yeah. I think there were definitely times where I was putting a lot of work into organizing and I wasn't necessarily seeing the impact of that. But it's the kind of thing where like if no one organizes, then things aren't going to get better.
Yeah.
You have to have people organize in order to create that path, even if we don't know how to. You know, we're build, not to mix metaphors, but we're building the boat as we sail in it. And I think this would be a good time to transition into the segment that we end all of our podcasts with, Hopecast, where we share one thing that is giving us hope while all these terrible things happen around us. And I can start. I think one thing that's giving me hope is my co-host here, AP, who has put in a lot of amazing work into lining up guests. We got an amazing guest here, but we got even more amazing guests down the pipeline. And I'm not going to go fully into it now, but I will say that I'll be taking a break from the podcast next month for a really fun reason, really. Maybe I'll talk about it on the next podcast I'm on.
Marcy's going into SEER school. She's going to become a Delta Force operator.
Yeah, breaking the system from the inside. I see.
And I have a lot of faith in my co-hosts that it's going to go off without a hitch with no Marcy. There's going to be a bunch of wonderful episodes lined up. And yeah, I think being able to put your faith in someone else and take a break, I think that's an important part of the society that we live in. And I'm glad that my wonderful co-host is here to do it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Grace, what are you?
What's my? Well, I'm just gonna talk about Sophie again.
Yay.
But yeah, cause like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, it is kind of crazy. Like, this is something I had this experience when I went back to Utah for my grandmother's funeral, and it's like here, I'm lucky to have great friends like both of you and so many people in my life, where it's just like my identity is just not a issue. Like, it's something that we discuss, but it's also like there's this unpretentiousness about like, yeah, you are a woman and I'm going to treat you like one, and it's not like I'm not making an effort. I'm not thinking about it. I'm just doing it. Right. And then being in this environment where I know people like act differently around their families and things like that, but I don't really feel like I'm being different, and people are treating me differently and misgendering me and stuff. And there was this thing of like, what is different about me, or like, what is different about this thing? And I know that there's like reason, it's like there's a bunch of reasons, but there's something so surreal. And I think that's something that like really good friends can bring this groundedness to your life, and like a remembrance of like what makes things worth experiencing when the world is like hard and difficult, and when things feel hard for like stupid fucking reasons that aren't, that like, I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's just sense. Like, I think that like reminder of like, oh, like actually it is easy to love me, and there are things in the world that are good, that can be easy and pleasurable to do. And I think that is what has been giving me hope recently, is like the stark reminder of like how suddenly just like having the right person around can make me so happy and so excited to be alive. and needing that when things do feel grim for me and for so many other people.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
Thank you for sharing.
I think what is giving me hope, a little bit of the irony poisoning jumped into my brain there, and I said, and I was thinking, there's all these health implications that Donald Trump might die soon, and that's giving me hope. But honestly, I don't care, because the system will continue without him. I think what's bringing me hope is, like, I have never felt more Mexican.
Nice.
I have never felt more me. And soon enough, I'm gonna go to Mexico to spend some time there. While you're listening to this, I'm already there. I'm already eating better than you. And I think, as I have seen, like, more and more of the people that I look like and that I love be threatened, the less and less I worry, because I realize there's no coercion to reduce me. There's no possible threat that can reduce me. And I'm gonna be Mexican till the day I die. And then the atoms that constitute me, that will be flushed into the eternal matter that can't be destroyed, will be, in a partial way, in a whole way, Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
No, I mean, I think that is like, this is not quite the same thing, but something I am frightened of is, because when I was in the church still, and when I was going to school and felt like I couldn't transition, now I look back on that time when I knew I was trans and felt like I couldn't take pills or do kind of these things. I had more room than I thought I did to live, like 100%. And I'm not trying to look down on that person who was also like scared and trying to work things out. But I guess, like, if you are a young trans person listening to this, or a closeted person, like, fucking do it. I know it's bad and scary, but you have more than you think you do. There is more to you, and the world will welcome it more than you believe. I think that is, like, fundamentally true.
And even if it's fearful, there are people like me, a lot of people like me, that will stand up there and use their loud voice to say, fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, Republican Party, Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Oh, this whole system can fuck itself. And I promise you, there are millions of APs out there ready to protect the dolls. So yeah. Use that ETH to buy that DIY HRT. And guess what? You don't have to inject it. You could just take a pill.
That's true. But don't buy from Teva, though. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Grace, for joining us on this podcast.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it was great talking with you, and I'm always happy to have you in my life.
Yeah, same. The feeling is very much mutual.
We have a bunch of links in the details of the episode about how to buy Grace's book, how to listen to Grace's podcast,
how to become a member of the Patreon of her podcast.
That's true.
How to follow Grace on Blue Sky at Grace Machine. Is there anything else you want to plug, Grace?
I guess I think probably by the time, I guess I don't know when exactly this releases.
Monday.
Oh, okay. So
Monday, September 1st.
In the upcoming issue of Edge magazine, I have two pieces. I have a review of a video game, and I also have a piece about the fiasco surrounding itch and Steam and the delisting or like banning of adult games. I'm proud of both of those pieces, and you should check them out. It's a little weird because they just have like a list of contributors in the front of the magazine, but like, hey, check it out. Like in 2 weeks, pick up a copy of Edge at your local library or magazine stand, should you have one of those around you, and I might be in there writing things.
Yo, we will have a link to that too. Thank you so much, Grace. It's been a wonderful experience chatting with you. I love video games. I love God. You know, Jesus died for my sins. And I appreciate you, listener. This is a long one, but a good one. You can follow us on
Instagram,
on
Blue Sky,
on
YouTube.
on TikTok? Question mark?
Ooh.
Triple question mark? Exclamation.
After critiquing TikTok, we're about to make one.
Everywhere at Dub Weather.
Give us 5 stars.
And give us a big old digital hug, because we are here
And queer.
and we'll always be here. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.